Hi, it's a beautiful, no, actually, it's a gloomy Saturday, the kind of weekends you spend indoors. And I think it's a perfect time to start another sourdough starter. This will be my third one. My first one I started in November 24, lasted up to March 25, and it was attacked by maggots because I didn't store her well when I traveled. I was gifted another one in April. The first one, her name was She. The second one I was gifted was called Blue. Lasted 3 months, baked one loaf only, and then I moved and I didn't transport her well, so she didn't make it to the new place. And now I think I want to start a third one. I think I'll call her She again. I usually see people who pass their sourdoughs down to their kids. I hope this one is the one. I'll really take care of her. For the first 2 starters I've had, I've managed to make 7 loaves that will appear on your screen. Some I'm really proud of, others were just trial and error. So I want to get back into baking and experimenting with different sourdough loaves. So let me show you guys how I do my initial starter. For my first loaf, I did start with atta flour, but after some time I felt like it was not sustainable because the atta flour gets very, very tart when it ferments, so you can't really use it when you're doing the discard. But I found that with all-purpose flour I can use the discard to make crepes tomorrow for breakfast. But still, in this video I'll be showing you guys how I use my discard to make crepes so that you don't have to throw it away. You can also make other things, like I've made crackers, I've made carrot cake with the discard. It adds a really nice fermented flavor. So stay tuned later in the video to see how I make crepes with the discard. And this is day 1 of sourdough starter She. Here we have all-purpose flour, and then this nice jar. It's quite big because typically sourdough usually like doubles when it's fermenting, so you want a glass jar that is able to hold the starter and allow it space to grow as it ferments. I'm also going to be using water, not tap water. The best water to use is filtered water, so typically the water you use for drinking. I'm going to take out my scale. You can also use cups. The point is to have the same amount of water and flour in your first 7 days. Although I will do another video, like a more intense video of sourdough, on how you can get to a place where you stop discarding your starter. But for now, this is the beginning. Equal parts water. We'll start with, I think I'll do 100 grams so that I get enough discard for tomorrow. Equal parts flour, so 100 grams of flour. And that's simply how you make a sourdough starter. So I have a lid. I'll not lock the lid, I'll just place it on and leave it on the counter. Then you're going to feed your starter every 24 hours. So tomorrow, aka later in this video, I'm going to be feeding her. You have to label your starter so that you know when she started, and you can keep track. A starter typically will be ready in 7 days, depending on the weather and how well you take care of her. So I'll name her starter 25, and I'll just leave her on the countertop. Next up, I want to make candied oranges and lemons to use as a garnish for some cakes I want to make tomorrow. You can also save the garnish for your crepes, your drinks, and all those things. So let's quickly make some candied oranges, tangerines, and lemons. Hi, good morning. So we are on day 2 of our sourdough starter. It's going to be a long journey. It's a long journey before we get to a place where the starter is even active to bake a loaf. But if you look closely, there's some bubbles. Of course, it's only been 1 day, so there is barely any activity, barely any fermentation. We started yesterday with 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water. So our mixture here is 200 grams. I'm going to discard 150 grams. That's my scale. Because if this is 200 grams, you take it out up to about here. But I like to be a bit specific, and also this scale is quite cheap. You can get it for like 400 bob, or like, I guess that's like $3. Okay, you can throw this away. Don't throw it down your sink. It's going to clog your sink after a while of discarding it in the sink. Put it in like a trash bag. But what I like to do is, because I really like crepes, I discard and I add an egg, a bit of sugar and cardamom, and I make crepes. They're really so delicious, especially when it starts fermenting. Now it's not really fermented, like it's getting there, but it will work. You can also save your discards in another jar, put it in the fridge, and then use it to make crackers. I think that's what I'll do from day 4 to 7 when it starts becoming more fermented. This is what I have left. I'm going to add an egg, some sugar, some cardamom. $50 grams water, 50. Mix completely. That's day 2. Cover loosely, let it sit at room temperature, and let it do its thing. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or I'll document now for the rest of the week, and probably give you guys an update next Sunday. I like my crepes nice and crispy and brown along the edges. Beautiful. I know not a lot of people agree with this, but I also like them greasy. The edge. Ooh, nice and crispy. And some bacon. I'm also going to add some pineapple jam that I shared in the video that will pop up above. 2 bowls to separate my whites from my yolks. Have some vinegar. Very important to clean your bowls before you separate your whites and your yolks. We're also going to be adding a bit into the royal icing. I'm going to be using some rose essence. You could use vanilla, you could use lemon. I just want to use this because it has a very subtle floral scent that I want to use in this cake. And then we have 3 eggs and some icing sugar. Guys, guys, things are falling apart. But as I promised, I'll always be sharing the process, even when it doesn't go perfectly, so that when I redo it later, I can come back and see the progress arc. Anyway, so this was the original plan. I wanted to make one of those painted cakes. Yeah, one of those painted cakes. A lot of people use buttercream or whipping cream and then they just pipe. But I wanted to actually paint on top of it, right? So I had two options, to either use buttercream and do palette flowers, but I didn't want to do that. I actually want to use watercolor, and the other option was to use fondant, which would have been the easiest option. But I just didn't want to go through the process of making fondant, so I had this idea to use royal icing, because royal icing sets very smoothly. I've used it before on cookies a couple of times, and through my research I saw that you can whip the royal icing to be fluffy, and then you use it to to frost the cake like you would buttercream. So after checking out a couple of recipes, I found a recipe that worked, but every time I applied it on the cake, it wasn't setting. So I decided to add some CMC powder, which is what is added in fondant, to make it set. And I think I either added too much because now it's gritty. Anyway, I decided to power through because I added it to my whole mixture. In hindsight, I should have just added to a little portion. I've transferred it to my canvas and it's ready, but it's gritty. I don't want to get rid of it because I feel like it kind of mimics the look of canvas, and it's actually setting. So I'm still going to go ahead and paint on it. And the reason I have a blow dry is I've noticed that when I use heat, it smoothens out some parts, but it's gotten to a point where it's not getting any smoother. I was just trying to add some heat to see whether I can smooth it a bit further. But I think I'm just going to go with this vibe, guys. Yeah, this is what we have so far. I just remembered, with royal icing, you can always add water and change the consistency. So I added some water. You can also flood. I don't have a great feeling about this, but I don't have much to lose. So I'm going to flood, since we already have a base. So this didn't work out. I'm going to leave it to set overnight though, but it's been flooding all day. I didn't get my consistency right. Very disappointed, by the way, very. This is the situation in the kitchen. And there's this, then the dishes. I really hate this part. There's cream everywhere. Oh.
You can see his face. His whole demeanor changed as soon as she said Democrat.
That cake was an actual disaster. I don't think the royal icing is going to dry. I think flooding was not a good idea. I'm going to try again within the week to do something else. Maybe this time I'll try fondant, but that was a disaster. The only thing keeping me positive right now is the fact that all my dishes are done, and this fantastic kombucha, guys, it's so good. This is the strawberry one. I've also added some of the candied lemons and oranges that I made, and once I get to the end of the drink, I'm just going to eat them. Check out the rest of the desserts I've been making. Some of them have been giving me such a headache. I have another fail coming up during the week that didn't turn out as I expected. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.